Hey there, and welcome to another one of my cheesy YouTube videos. This video is to get you updated on a project I started last year, and that is the TDI swap into my 1981 Volkswagen Rabbit pickup truck. This truck's been sitting in my shop for about 9 months now. It was actually supposed to be a quick project, but it never happens that way. It originally came with this 1.6 gasoline fuel injection engine. It's going to get this 1.9 TDI diesel out of a 2003 Jetta. I've had the Jetta since 2003. It was a great car. Me and my wife drove it for at least 10 years, no more than that, probably 15 years. And when my wife eventually got tired of it, I parked it and told her that I was waiting to find myself a Volkswagen pickup to put that engine in. This project details quite a few different things, and I'm just going to kind of show you what I've got in front of me. I could buy the old style motor mounts that came with the 1981 pickup truck, but I'm trying to adapt the newer style mounts on the TDI to the body. You can actually buy kits that change the TDI to the old style mounts. This channel isn't about me putting stuff on that other people have already figured out all the answers to. This channel is about me figuring it out my way. Man, maybe I can come up with a better way. Maybe I'll screw myself. It don't really matter because it's my equipment. The problem with the internet is you can go on there and find tons of information, but sometimes that information only takes you to a certain level, and not until you come across a problem, another problem, and search that specifically do you get to move to the next level. One such instance is the drive shafts. The transmission for the 1.6 gas engine that originally came with it has a much smaller flange than the TDI has. The TDI has a 100mm distance for the flange, and I forgot what this one is, but the bottom line is this shaft is not going to fit in the modern 02J transmission that is attached to the TDI, and I do plan to keep the modern transmission. The 2003 Jetta has a much wider distance between the front tires, which means its drive shafts are longer. Also, the Mark I, its splines that go into the hub have 22 splines. The Jetta has 36 or 33. Either way, it won't fit. So you need a drive shaft with the 100mm hub and 22 spline. Now, sometimes Volkswagen, they'll create new models of cars, but they may hold over a specific model that they're not ready to upgrade yet. And for instance, I believe it's the convertible that when they went to the more modern 02J transmission in the, I'm not sure if it was a Mark III or Mark IV when they actually made that change, but when they made the change, they weren't ready to upgrade the convertible yet. So they kept the old convertible's body, but they put the new upgraded drivetrain in it. In doing so, they had to create a drive shaft that had the 100mm flange on one end and the 22 spline on the other end. So this drive shaft is out of a Cabrio. Like I said, sometimes you run across problems that when you read about, okay, I see, they tell me get this other drive shaft, you'll do the job. So you go get the drive shaft, you go put it in, tighten up the nut on the hub, and it squeezes everything together inside the hub, and it locks up and it won't spin. And in this case, the new drive shaft right here, where it's worn out, where it's rubbed off paint that I put on there, is hitting the sides of the knuckle. So there's obviously some machining that needs to be done. And also they say the snap ring that holds the bearings inside the knuckle will also hit on this housing. Well, the dilemma then is, do you grind the axle or do you grind the knuckle? What do you do about the snap ring? Do you grind on the snap ring? For me, I'm probably going to go underneath to the knuckle and grind out the knuckle and then grind part of the snap ring, and hopefully it'll accommodate the axles. So this is a dilemma. This is a separate video I'm working on. Another dilemma has to do with the motor mounts. I ground out the rivets to the mounts that are mounted inside the body. My goal is to install the modern 2003 Jetta mounts inside the body of the car. Let me just show you how my crazy mind's thinking. First of all, why am I going with the mounts when they've already made adapters? Well, it's just the way I do things. And plus, I think the 03 mounts are better, and I should be able to find them easier if I need to find them. But concerns I have are, first, once both the axles are installed, I'm going to need to make sure that when the engine is sitting in place, that there's free play in both axles before they tie up into the tranny. And what I'm worried about is as the car hits a bump and the suspension goes up, the axle is actually going to push in a little bit. And I don't want to put pressure on my transmission by having them in there tight. So there has to be some give there. And what I've done there is I made a jig, but I got a junker with a 1.6 diesel in it. And I made a 2x4 across the fenders, putting marks where that 2x4 sat on the junker and transferring it all into this car. I also had a piece of all thread that I drilled a hole and ran through that 2x4, and I had it touch the transmission in a certain place to give me a reference point to where I want this transmission to sit. But that's not going to work out too well because the O2J is a lot bigger transmission than the stock one. That piece of all thread has no meaning to it. Also have a bunch of marks on the 2x4 of different things, and the height of the top of the valve cover from the 2x4, blah, blah, blah. So hopefully when I set it in place, I'll use those to help me get that engine sitting where I want it to be. Then there's a problem with the intercooler. This is the intercooler for the 2003 Jetta. On the Jetta, it would mount tucked up inside of here, kind of down low, but it's a totally different arrangement on the car. And it's obvious that this one will not mount. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use that intercooler or not. So I went to swap meet last weekend and I picked up this intercooler. I'm thinking maybe I can cut out the sheet metal under here, and if I can do it nicely and tuck the intercooler under the radiator. Plenty of work to do on this little old truck. And I've already painted it once. Been sitting here, it's covered in dust. The roof had a bunch of surface rust. I wire brushed it. Got as much of the rust off as I could. Then I treated it with Ospo, which converts the rust into a primer basically. And then I used a epoxy primer and then painted it. For the most part, the truck turned out all right, but I had issues and I got in a rush towards the end, and I wound up with quite a few spots that have fish eyes, and that's just from rushing. And I forgot to wipe down the tailgate, so here I am painting the truck, and I realized, oh crap, I forgot the tailgate, so I hurried, and the tailgate really had some fish eyes. It is totally nasty. So she's going to get sanded down again, which is fine with me. I really want it to look good. And I will take my time, get them fish eyes out, and get the dust off there a lot better than I had it. And the truck's going to look even better. Except for the tailgate, I'm not embarrassed with how this truck looks now. Rear wheel was locked up. I took it apart. The brake linings had fallen off and got wedged in there. I'll steal some off my junker and fix it that way. This having fuel injection already, I probably don't need to change my fuel tank out. I'll pull it out and clean it. And I'll have to replace the fuel lines because where they go up front for the gasoline's fuel injection and where they go for the TDI's fuel injection are two different places. Also will need to put on an electric fuel pump, I think. I need to double check. Maybe this one's already got electric pump built in the tank, being that it's fuel injection. The interior is getting replaced, except for the carpet, but maybe even the carpet. I've washed the carpet and scrubbed it pretty good. This thing was nasty. This thing was nasty. It had a bunch of some sort of dried up vegetation in here that just makes you itch like it's fiberglass. And I got all that out. It's got to have AC. I'm not sure if I'm going to pull this old AC unit out of the pickup and put the Jettas in or not. I'm still thinking about that, but the little truck's got to have AC. This truck needs to be, it needs to be a functioning truck. It needs to start up and run like it should. It needs to do the job. It needs to be dependable. I've had a couple of these pickups before, and I actually used them in my businesses, and I had a heavy equipment repair business, and I found I could do most of my work out of one of these little pickup trucks and leave the big trucks, you know, waiting until I need a crane or a welder. And they've always worked out wonderful that way. So I want this truck to be dependable. I have run, in the past, I've run into problems. I had put a TDI into a Mark II or Mark III Cabrio convertible. And the Cabrio was a problem to begin with. It had gremlins in its wiring. I took it to Volkswagen. When I first bought the thing, I was living on my boat in Corpus Christi, and I really didn't have a place to work or anything. I took it to a dealer and said, I need a new key. And I sat there forever in the waiting room. Eventually, I looked out there, and they had my car all tore apart. I'm like, what are you doing? We're troubleshooting it. They won't accept the new key. The electronics or the computer wouldn't. And you're going to bill me. And they were going to bill me for it. And I said, well, the hell you are. You put that car back together. You should have told me about that. So anyways, it had gremlins. I would think there's just, I don't know. I don't want gremlins in this. Eventually that convertible, which I really like the car, seems to be every time I hooked it to my motorhome and pulled it somewhere, it would leave me stranded. And the last time it left me stranded in Parker, Arizona, I said, to hell with it. I went down to the next city over to the Nissan dealer. The first dealer I came to, let's put it that way, and said, what do you got for a cheap tow-behind car? And I bought almost a new Nissan car for that. And I traded in the little convertible, which I didn't want to do, but you got to have something dependable, and that's what I'm trying to say. I hope to hell with everything I'm doing on this little pickup truck, it'll be dependable. And the only thing that won't be dependable about it will be the wiring, because the Germans sure like to overthink things with their wiring, but I think I'll be all right. Part of the TDI swap is I had to send away the ECM, the engine control monitor, and have it what they call flashed. And what they do is they remove the immobilizer system. What the immobilizer system is on them Volkswagens, that your key had to be recognized by the computer and the dash. All three had to recognize each other. And if they didn't, you'd start the car, it'd run for about 2 seconds and stall. And actually, that's something my Cabrio would do too at some points. But I've had that flash. Hopefully they did a good job, because it's been sitting on the shelf for 9 months now. And I've stripped out all the 81 wiring out of here. And just because this had a gas engine, and I've stripped the wiring out of my junker diesel that I had, and I was going to put the diesel wiring in here, even though it may only be one wire that's different or whatever. I'm also holding open the possibility that if I could successfully cut the Jetta's dash to fit, because it's a couple inches wider, and get to sit here and look right, which I don't think I'm going to. Now I'd run with the Jetta dash. This dash was all broke up, and that's typical of these little trucks. The vinyl and the foam just disintegrates, and it's a piece of crap. And I've stripped it down. I've put new foam on it. I've started putting new vinyl on it. It's tedious. It's got a lot of turns and twists, and I'm not that good of a sewer, and I'm not sure how long or how that's going to turn out. It's sitting in my sewing room. I've also replaced the door panels. I've rebuilt those. They're looking good. They're in my sewing room. I've taken out the window regulators. The windows wouldn't go up and down, but now they go up and down really good. So that's nice. It's going to have to, I'm going to have to figure out the clutch, because TDI has a hydraulic clutch. I'm hoping to retrofit TDI's clutch assembly under the dash, which is going to take a little bit of work. The TDI shifter was in the process of fitting up underneath there. It definitely will be a better shifter than the 81 had. These old Volkswagens, the shifters are okay and they're easy to fix, but if they get wore out and sloppy, they can be a real pain in the ass to shift sometimes. We've never had a problem with our 03 Jetta, and we put 240,000 miles on it. Underneath here is a piece of 6-inch purlin, which we are cutting to make a back bumper out of. I want my back bumper to be something special. I said my friend came over and tinkered with me for a little bit, but it originally had a relatively large step bumper on it, and it cracked out the body of the truck. We welded that up, and that new bumper is going to be pretty cool. Some of my lights, at least one of my lights is busted. I think it's a left-hand side. And that was it was sitting underneath the carport and something rolled into it. I will probably go back with the original lights. If anybody knows of a custom light, let me know. I thought about getting rid of these and glassing all this in and putting lights in the bumper. But I don't think I'm going to go through that much effort. And I originally thought it'd be really cool to put the lights in my bumper shaped like VW, but I don't think they'd be legal. And I know for certain someone's going to stare at the VW if I hit my brakes, and they're going to run in the back of me. So as cool as I think it is, I think it'd be a dumb idea. I need the straps for my tailgate to hold it. Anybody knows where I can get a pair, let me know. Okay, I've got the engine sitting over here for several reasons. I'm going to go ahead and put a new timing belt on, and I want my timing cover on. I need to make a steel plate to replace this aluminum casting. Replace this casting, because this casting sets this mount out another inch or so from where the timing belt cover would be, and I think I need to go in closer. So I bought some steel plate to come across here. I bought some bushings to help in making the custom bracket to go on the front of the TDI, and it will accommodate the 2003's front mount, or it's actually called the right-hand mount. Okay, the 81 pickup truck has a lot smaller tire than the Jetta had. The Jetta had 24.98 diameter tires, and the pickup truck had 22.76. At 2,000 RPMs in fifth gear, the Jetta would do 57.71 miles per hour. And that's with a fifth gear ratio of 0.76. The Rabbit tire size is 22.76. And putting its tires with the same fifth gear ratio of 0.76 would give me 52.58 miles per hour. By changing out the 0.76 fifth gear to 0.658 at 2,000 RPMs, I'll be doing 60.73 miles per hour, as opposed to 57.71, which the Jetta did originally. Fifth gear is easy to get to. It's right behind this cover. I'll do a video on that. I'll probably do a video on fitting the shifter video on making the axles fit. There'll be a bunch of separate videos. I'm going to redo the entire interior of the car, and then I'm going to do a lot of work to it. I've discovered some holes in the floorboards, little holes that are maybe 1 inch in diameter, but there's several of them. This car has had for a long time. I'm certain that the window seals leak, and there was a water line in there. The floorboards are good other than those holes. I haven't decided what I'm going to do there. I really didn't want to get that far into a truck I just wanted to put on the road for my daily driver. But I'm not the kind of person to ignore something like that. So there's a possibility I'll just fiberglass them temporarily until I feel like getting around to ripping the carpet out, cutting the entire floorboard out and doing that. Or it's a possibility I might just fix the whole thing right now. So this is an introduction to my 1981 Volkswagen pickup truck, which they also call a Caddy, retrofit. Please stick around. I'm going to have a lot of videos. Thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please, please, please hit the like button. So please, I understand liking my videos is very important. Share them. And hopefully I can provide some pretty decent videos for you. If you love life and learning new things, go aimless.com.